The children under the bridge are not lost, they are waiting for someone to take their place. I used to take late-night walks to clear my head after stressful days. There's a path near my house that runs along the river, dotted with old street lamps and thick trees on either side. The bridge about a mile down was once a railway crossing, long since abandoned, its frame rusting and its underside veiled in shadows even during the day. I never paid it much attention, until last week. That night, something felt off from the beginning. The wind was still, but the trees swayed. The street lights flickered erratically, not in unison, but as if something was dancing between them. I ignored it, headphones in, until I saw them, 5 small figures, crouched under the bridge. They weren't moving. I thought maybe it was just some kids pulling a prank. But as I got closer, I felt smaller, like the night was pressing in on me. And then I noticed something worse, they weren't breathing. I stopped. One of them looked up. Its face, I can't even say it had one. It was as if it were made of melted wax, blank where features should be. But somehow, I could feel it staring straight at me. Then, the others followed. They all turned toward me slowly, limbs creaking like old wood. A sound rang out, clear and metallic, like a train whistle, echoing far in the distance. Except, the tracks were dead. No trains had run for decades. They began to rise. I don't know how I moved so fast, but I ran. I didn't stop until I got home. But that night, and every night since, when I try to sleep, I hear it, the whistle. Closer each time. And my shadow? It lingers just a second too long after I move. I talked to a local historian yesterday. He said that back in the 1920s, a group of orphans vanished near that bridge. People said they were lured by the sound of a train that wasn't there. The bodies were never found. But here's the worst part, for every one that goes missing, another shadow joins the bridge. Last night, I passed by again from a distance. I counted 6 now. Rules to survive the children under the bridge. 1. Never walk near the bridge after midnight. The train doesn't run on tracks, it runs on your thoughts. 2. If you hear the whistle, cover your ears immediately. It's not a sound, it's a call. And it learns your name. 3. Do not respond if one of them calls out to you. It will sound like a lost child. It is not. 4. If you see your shadow hesitate before it follows you, run. One of them is trying it on. 5. Never try to help the children. They don't want help. They want a replacement. 6. Don't count them. Don't acknowledge their number aloud. It invites them to add another. If you've ever seen a child crouched under that bridge, don't look back. And whatever you do, don't let them see you see them. That's how they know you're ready. I kept walking, slowly and silently, trying not to step on any twigs or dried leaves. The air around me had turned thick, like syrup pulling at my breath. My flashlight flickered, and for a moment, the figures vanished. Then they came back, one step closer than before. My peripheral vision caught the subtle movements. Heads twitching, arms jerking like puppets strung to invisible wires. Their legs didn't bend right. Their spines swayed as though broken in half but still upright. There were more of them now. I didn't say it, I didn't dare, but I could feel the wrongness grow. My skin began to itch, deep under the surface, as though my blood itself was crawling. Something touched my back. I spun, but nothing was there. Only darkness. Only silence. But when I turned again, one of them had moved, a full 3 feet closer. No sound. No steps. Just closer. Their face was smoother now. Less defined. Less human. Its eyes were pressed into its skull like bruises that had rotted. The mouth was too wide. Too thin. And it was open, but no sound came from it. Just a long string of drool that stretched and snapped as it leaned in, just far enough to taste the air near my neck. I couldn't run. I knew that. Running made noise. Noise invited them. I hadn't made a sound yet. I hadn't counted them. I just had to keep walking. But then I saw something worse. Ahead of me, another figure. Taller. Paler. Wearing no clothes, no face, nothing that could be mistaken for a person. It pulsed faintly with a soft, rhythmic thrum, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to the earth. It stood on the trail, unmoving, arms long enough to reach the ground. And behind it, the other figures stopped moving too. They bowed their heads. Hello, moist hiss filled the air, and I knew they were breathing, in, out, together. The forest exhaled with them. I felt it push through me, filling my lungs without my permission. And then it looked up. It didn't have eyes, but it looked right into me. My legs buckled, and I fell to my knees. That's when I heard the laughter. Not outside. Inside. Bouncing off the walls of my skull like trapped flies. It was childish at first, like a toddler giggling from under a bed, and then it changed. Wet. Deep. It burbled up like a drowned man trying to speak through lungs full of river water. The ground beneath me rippled. I saw hands begin to rise through the soil. Small ones. Dozens of them. Children's hands. Reaching, grasping, groping blindly for my legs. My flashlight slipped from my hand and died in the dirt. The dark pressed in. I couldn't move. I couldn't even scream. Every instinct said to close my eyes, but something inside me, maybe the last thread of reason, said no. If I closed them, I wouldn't be here when I opened them again. I would be there. And that's when it whispered, not in my ear, but in my mind, "You counted them, didn't you?" I hadn't said a number. I hadn't even thought it, but I had noticed. I had tried to guess. That was enough. They heard it in my thoughts. They were always listening. The tall one reached for me. Its fingers didn't touch my skin, but passed through me, like smoke curling through ribs. I couldn't move. I couldn't blink. I felt my heart slow, not in fear, but as if it were listening too. As if it were obedient. The world became heavy. Everything tilted, like I was falling sideways through the earth. I woke up outside my house. No shoes. No light. My watch was broken, shattered like it had been crushed in a vice. And there were footprints in the mud leading up to my front door. Not mine. Not human. They were too long. Too thin. And there were too many. I've tried moving since then. I've changed homes, jobs, even names. But every now and then, I see them again, just in the corner of my eye. In the blur of a mirror that shouldn't be reflecting anything. And when I sleep, I feel the heartbeat again, slow and wet and watching. Sometimes I hear soft counting, not in a voice, but like bones clicking together. I never speak the number aloud. But they already know I know. And now, so do you. I stopped breathing for a moment. The night didn't feel like night anymore. It felt like a thick curtain pulled tightly over something awful, something breathing just beneath its folds. The silence outside wasn't natural. It wasn't the gentle hush of late hours, but a deliberate muting, as though the world was holding its breath with me. I turned slowly to the window, afraid I might see something that hadn't been there a second ago. But the window was just glass and night and nothing else. And yet, it felt like I was being watched, by something that didn't blink. The house creaked again, this time from above. Not a random pop or settling wood, but a dragging sound. Like bare feet moving across attic dust. My skin prickled. I had never been in the attic. I had never needed to be. But something had found its way up there, or had been there long before I moved in. And now, it knew that I knew. I moved back toward the hallway, but the shadows had changed. They were no longer tied to the shapes of furniture or walls. They leaned inward, as if eavesdropping. One near the baseboard stretched just a little too far, creeping like ink spilled with intent. I couldn't look too long at any of them. They shifted if I did. Reacted. Waiting for me to misstep, or speak, or count them aloud again. I made it to the stairs, each footfall deliberately placed. That damn rule, don't acknowledge their number aloud, echoed like a scream in my head. But what if I had already done too much? What if thinking the number was enough? What if counting them in my mind was all it took to open the door for one more? Halfway up the stairs, I heard a voice. It wasn't loud. It wasn't threatening. It was soft, coaxing, like someone reading a bedtime story from the bottom of a well. There were 6, it said. I froze. I hadn't spoken aloud. You counted them. You invited me. I'm the 7th. I ran. I didn't think. I sprinted up the stairs and into my bedroom, slamming the door and throwing myself against it like a child hiding from imagined monsters. But this wasn't imagined. It never had been. The whispers resumed from beneath the crack in the door, 7 distinct voices, layered, murmuring secrets that didn't sound like language. And underneath them, dragging footsteps. Slow. Measured. Closer. I turned toward my bed, only to find the shadow on the wall behind it was too large. It stretched to the ceiling, with the rough outline of shoulders, arms, and a head shaped like nothing human. And it wasn't cast from me. It didn't move when I did. I've been lonely, it said without a mouth. Now I'm part of your number. The room collapsed inward then. The corners curled like burnt paper. The walls wept something thicker than water. I backed into the closet, pulling the door shut, trembling. And there, in the narrow strip of light beneath the closet door, I saw the shadows gather. One by one. Forming shapes. Standing still. Watching. I tried not to count them. But I did. 7. Then 8. Then 9. They multiplied each time I blinked. And now, they wait. Just beyond the wood. Not speaking. Not moving. Growing. I know the moment I speak their number aloud again, I will no longer be one. I'll be one of them. So if you ever see a shadow that doesn't belong, one too many in your hallway, or one pressed against your reflection that you can't explain, don't count them. Don't think the number. Don't acknowledge. Because when you do, they will know. And they will whisper in unison, "We were waiting for you to see us." And then you'll hear them shuffle closer. One by one. Until you become the next. The 10th.